This is second part of dialogue tutorial. Okay, if I press the next button, as you can see, it's animating the character one by one. Okay, it's adding one by one, so we're gonna deal with this today. Okay, if you haven't watched the first tutorial of dialogue manager or dialogue, okay, you can go check this out. I have link in the description of that video. Okay, open up the dialog manager script. Okay, as you can see, we have dragged this text, we have created this text and something like hi, as you can see. So if we go to dialog manager, we have created a field, text field. Just you need to drag the text into that field. Now we have the link up. Now we can communicate with this text or we can access this. Okay, so what we're gonna do, go over to dialog manager script. We're gonna use I enumerator. Okay, basically that function will delay for if you want to delay something. Okay, if you want to delay something, you have to use I enumerator function. Okay, coroutine you have to use. So make sure you have included these namespaces. Okay, using system dot collection, else it's own able to get it. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna over here, as you can see, we have created this next line in function. And what this function it's doing is basically it's increasing the line index by 1, as you can see, line index plus plus. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna go over to bottom, and we're gonna create the I enumerator function. Okay, that function is used to delay something. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna add the letter one by one. Before we're gonna wait one single frame. Okay, and then we're gonna add the second letter, then third, and so on. So we're gonna use that I enumerator. Okay, I enumerator function. So what we're gonna do, we have to type this I enumerator. Okay, sorry, I enumerator, and we're gonna call it something like typing word or typing later or adding later, something like that. I'm gonna call it something like typing word. Okay, typing word, something like that. Make first bracket and this curly brackets. So what we're gonna do, firstly we're gonna set this to empty field, empty string. Okay, this text over here we're gonna set it to empty. Basically, as you can see, now it's empty. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna firstly go to dialog text. Basically that text, dialog text dot text, we're going to that text and we're gonna set it to empty. Okay, we're gonna set it to empty and end up with semicolon. Then what we're gonna do, we're gonna add the letter one by one. Okay, so what we need to do, we need to use for each loop. Okay, so we're gonna use for each. So this so this will be a character. Okay, car, and we're gonna call it something like later. Okay, later. And then in sentences. Okay, in sentences, basically let's suppose, and we have to make square brackets, and we have to pass the line index. Okay, line index, and we have to use this two car array, so it will split up into character. Okay, so basically let's suppose sentences, line index over here 0. So as you know, 0 is the first sentence, basically the first line. If I go to dialog manager, as you can see, 0 is the first one. So this first line or the first sentences, as you can see. So let's suppose that first line. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna add this to dialog text by one. As you can see, we split up into later, as you say, car, later, in sentences. Basically for the first time, if we call this function. Okay, so line index over here, as you know, it will be 0. But whenever we calling or pressing something like next button or something like that, we increasing the line index by 1, as you can see. So if the line index, if we call for the first time this next line function, so line index over here will be 0. As you know, index by default it's 0. So 0 plus 1, as you know, 1. So it will just increasing the line index. So over here, where if we call for the first time this typing word function, so as you know, line index is will be 0 in this start. Okay, so it will pick up the first line or the first sentence. What we're gonna do, we're gonna add that, okay, to our dialog test, this first sentence. But what we're gonna do, we're gonna add the letter one by one. So what we have to do, we have to type this dialog text, basically that text, and we're gonna add, okay, text dot dot text and plus equal. We're gonna add the letter one by one, and we're gonna wait, end up with semicolon. Okay, and we're gonna wait one single frame, then we're gonna add the second letter. Okay, so we have to type this yield yield return. Okay, yield return null basically means it will wait for one single frame, then it will go to this for each loop once again. And let's suppose we're gonna call this function, okay, for the first time. So firstly what we doing, we setting that text to empty field, basically this text. If I go to text, so we, as you can see, empty, so we are setting it empty by default. And then what we doing, we going to pick up we just picking up the first line, as you can see, for each car later in sentences. So let's suppose line index over here 0, so 0, as you know, for the first line or the first sentence. Basically if I go to dialog manager, so the first one is 0, as you can see. So hi Vairab Roy. Okay, so we just splitting up to splitting in character. And then what we just doing, we are adding to that text by 1. Okay, plus equal 1, sorry, not plus equal 1, plus equal later, as you can see. Let's suppose we want to print out the hi. Okay, so hi, so we will firstly print out. If I go to text, the text, basically that text, firstly we're gonna add the letter h. Okay, and then we're gonna wait one single frame. Basically as you can see, we are waiting yield return none, then we are adding the second letter as well. As you can say, dialog text dot text equal plus equal later. So we are waiting one single frame, then we are adding the I as well. Okay, and so on it will go till it's complete the whole letter. As you can see, letters, as you can see, hi Bharat Roy, it will stop in the exclamation mark, as you can see. So as you can see, when it's complete, so we're just waiting yield return null, and then we are looping, it's just looping. Okay, it's just looping once it complete. So we are adding the letter one by one, and we are waiting yield return null. Basically it's mean it will wait one single frame, and then it will add up the second letter as well, the third one as well. Before it add later, it will just wait for one single frame. So we're gonna also need to call this function. Okay, we just firstly setting up to empty string, as you can see, then we are adding the letter one by one by waiting one single frame. As you can see, yield return null one is complete. So we gonna call this function in the start. Okay, so we have to type this start coroutine. Okay, start coroutine you have to type, and you have to type the function name. Okay, you have to type the function name. You have to type the function name, so which is typing word. Okay, typing word, and make this first bracket. Okay, and end up with semicolon. So let's in the start we are calling this function. As you know, start function get called when the game start, and it just called one time. So if we call for the first time, line index over here by default it will be 0, as you know. As you know, so the line index over here 0, so it will pick up the first line. And then firstly it's setting an empty string, and it will pick up the first line. Okay, if line index is 0, then it will add up to text one by one letter, and it will wait one single frame, and then it will add the second letter as well. So once it completes, so it will just stop looping. Okay, so control as on your keyboard. Okay, control as on your keyboard, and head again to unity. Okay, head again to unity, you will able to see when we start the game, line index by default, as you know, it will be 0, so it will pick up the first sentence or the first line, as you can see. So it will just one by one, it will add the letter. It will wait one single frame, and it will add the second letter as well. Okay, it will keep looping until that sentence is complete. Okay, now if I hit play. Okay, if I hit play, and make sure you have dragged that text to that dialog text. Okay, so we will have the link up. Now if I hit play, you will able to see the letter will be added one by one. It will wait one single frame, and then it will add the second letter as well, and so on when it's complete. Okay, so as you can see, hi, and then one by one it's adding, it's just waiting one single frame, and then it's just doing. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we also need to call this say next line function. Okay, what we're gonna do, next line function. So as you can see, next line function, or what next line function over here doing, it just increasing the line index by 1. Okay, as you can see, line index plus plus. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna call this function. Okay, whenever we're gonna call this function, and we also need to call this typing word. So we're gonna use this start coroutine, we have to use this, and we have to type the typing word. Okay, typing word, typing one, and you have to make first second and end up with semicolon. So line index over here will be 1, and if we call this function, as you know, if we are increasing the line index by 1, so the line index over here will be 1, so it will pick up the next line or the next sentence. As you know, if I go to dialog manager, so it will pick up the how are you. So it will just what it will doing, firstly we are setting it empty string, then we are going to that sentence or that line, and then we are adding the letter one by one till we are waiting one single frame, and then we are adding the second letter as well. Once it's complete, so it will stop looping. Okay, so as you can see, so with the line index, so we are increasing by 1. Okay, line index, so it will go to the third line as well. If we press the level right mouse button, as you can see, we are calling this next line function, and as you can see, next line function increasing the line index by 1, and then we are calling typing word function, and as you can see, firstly typing word setting it to empty string, text will be empty, and then we are picking up that second line, as you can see, call later in sentence. So line index over here will be 1, so it will pick up the next sentence, okay, or the next line. So it will split up into a car character, as you can see, to car array, and we are adding the letter one by one. We are waiting one single frame, we are waiting one single frame, and it's going again to this letter, and as you can see, it's adding to our dialog text by 1, and we are waiting one single frame, then it just keep looping till it's complete the whole sentence or the whole letters we add. So control s on your keyboard to save this. Okay, and head again to unity. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna add a next button. Okay, we're gonna add a next button to that panel, and we're gonna call that next line function to whenever we press that next button, so it will increasing the line index by 1, so it will pick up the second one and the third one as well. Okay, just wait for to compile and you will able to see. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna add the next button. So go to dialog box, as you can see, dialog box, right click on dialog box, so go to UI and then legacy, and then select this button, and we're gonna call it something like next. Okay, sorry, next, and next, and hit enter. Okay, and we're gonna next go to next, and go to inspector, go to rect transform, and hold down all on your keyboard and select this bottom right one. Okay, and we're gonna make resize the button, as you can see now it's fine, and we're gonna increase the font size of this text button a little like this, and we're gonna call it something like next, and we're gonna alignment to center, I guess. We're gonna select bold. Okay, we just okay. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to next button, and we're gonna call that function. Okay, so on click event, as you can see, list is empty, just hit the plus icon, and we're gonna drag the dialog manager script. So as you know, dialog manager scripts, it's sitting on dialog manager game object, so we're gonna drag the dialog manager game object, and then we're gonna go to no function to we're gonna go to this, and then dialog manager, and as you can see, next line function, make sure you have made the next slide function to public. Okay, that's why we are able to see it over here. If you made it public, or if you has an have an assign like something like that, it will be set it to private. So that's why we made it public to say call this function through our button click event. So select that function. Okay, and if we hit play, and I'm gonna if we hit play, and uh, if for the first time, if we press the next line button over here, it will increase the line index by 1, so it will pick up the second line and the third line as well. As you can see, if I press the next button, as you can see, it's going to next sentence as well, and as you can see, I'm fine. Once it's complete, it just stop looping. So I hope you get the idea. Okay, so if you did, then if you enjoyed this video, so like this video and share it with your friends. Okay, and if you are new to my channel, then subscribe it for upcoming tutorials. okay. And lastly, thanks for watching this video.